Menacing, according to Oxford Dictionaries on Google, is to threaten, especially in a malignant or hostile manner. In The Greatest Estate Developer, a nobody thug who should have vanished in a bar drinking himself until he croaked, intimidates and strong-arms his victims with fear, becoming the most prominent businessman. A debt rags to riches story rewriting a fantasy world taking place in the Night of Blood and Iron. Our main character, Suho Kim, is a civil engineer and an avid reader of web novels. He wakes up to a floating text box system notifying him that he is a character in the book he was reading that night, The Night of Blood and Iron. The system welcomes Suho into the world upon a wish that Suho apparently has no recollection of asking for. Not only that, but without Suho needing to say anything, it perceives Suho's thoughts and talks to Suho accordingly. System's text boxes are only seen by Suho. Nobody else can contact System, nor do they know about the System. System also seems to have a playful side to it, since not only does it happily give Suho a health alert that his jaw is out of place from sleeping on the ground, it also laughs at his misfortune in text. As someone with an underbite enduring braces, my braces feel more pressure on my teeth and gum line in the displaced locations, and the simple action of moving your jaw, yawning, stretching, and lifting all play a part in this pressure on your face. Suddenly, a voice from behind Suho starts calling out to him. However, it doesn't call him Suho. "Master Loyd?" asks the stranger. Suho looks up and sees a man he's only ever seen in webcomics. A young, slim, light cyan-haired man with the elegance of a future knight and a trusty backsword on his waist. Javier Asarahan, the protagonist and future hero of The Night of Blood and Iron. Javier is the leading character readers like Suho look up to while reading The Night of Blood and Iron. And in comparison, Suho realizes instantly that he is the hooligan Loyd Frontera, the useless elder son of the Frontera estate, a bland character by design to be completely forgettable. Loyd is one of the first characters in the book and is a complete jerk to everyone around him. Loyd is a rich kid thug, he intimidates everyone, and nobody wants to be around him during his violent outbursts, not even Javier. Suho unfortunately knows Loyd's fate. During the Frontera arc, after Lord Arcos Frontera, Loyd's father, gets in a huge debt, greedy debt collectors victimize the Fronteras, and make the family cower in shame. The family will eventually lose all their land, their fortune, and their reputation with the town. Gee, I wonder why. Did losing your reputation have something to do with how your son treated the town? And to finish off this tragic story, Arcos and his wife unalive each other. And the icing on the cake? Loyd ends his story as a scumbag beggar drinking until he coughs up blood and croaks in a bar. Loyd is not the main character of Night in Blood and Iron. Loyd is the idiot brat that Javier, the protagonist, was forced to watch over for the first few chapters of the story. Maybe the Frontera arc was there to show how heartless kids are to their family, or to teach Javier the honor of nobility, but that's not the point. Suho realizes he needs to get his shit together, or he'll be toast. Tonight, however, Loyd wakes up on a cold dirt road in between the town and his estate, walking home drunk and passing out from a huge hangover. Javier, his trusty bodyguard, looks down on Loyd passed out with a displaced jaw, waiting for the time Loyd would inevitably wake up. Javier was probably expecting the calm before the storm of outbursting emotions from Loyd, but instead, the first words that come out of Loyd's mouth after his hangover is, "I'm the hooligan Loyd Frontera?" A startled Javier jumps back, and both parties go silent. After a brief moment of silence, Javier replies, "I called your name, but I have never called you a hooligan." Well, it's good you're self-aware at least. After Javier's haughty smirk, the system applies salt to the wound, happily notifying Loyd. Javier seems to be in a good mood, annoying Loyd even more. Javier next helps escort the woozy noble trash off the dirt road back to the Frontera estate. Why was Loyd here? Because Loyd's parents were kind and rich, and Loyd was evil and rich. But the days of being rich for the Frontera family are over. Javier kindles Loyd's fireplace and covers a warm blanket on Loyd's back. Loyd is unsure, and he doesn't remember why he was on the ground at all, mostly because this is Suho Kim and not Loyd Frontera. So he asks Javier why he's on the ground. Javier responds, "So you have no idea how you ended up like that? Well, you started drinking in the afternoon, you got drunk, you destroyed the pub furniture, and then you passed out on the way back to the manor. Ah, so it's the usual day for Loyd Frontera. With a mix of bitter and somber tone, Javier then says, "You may be a hooligan, but you are still the Lord's son. If you die on the road with your jaw out of place, he will be sad," and walks away. All alone in his warmer room, Loyd sits on his bed with his cozy fire and a blanket. He realizes he's still cold. Loyd checks the floor and accepts that he is definitely not in Korea anymore. Apparently, fantasy worlds don't have ondel heating, a luxury that Korean households and buildings have invented. That's mostly because European fantasies take place in Europe, not Korea. Anyways, the idea of ondel heating is to dig underneath a structure, make a fireplace beneath the building, thus turning it into a sauna on the inside. In the morning, Javier reports to Mr. and Mrs. Frontera the events of last night. Loyd's mother, Marbella, begs Loyd to go to the pub this time and apologize to the owner. Suho interprets that if he's going to be Loyd, he might as well clean up Loyd's previous messes. He says to Marbella, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it." Both Javier and Marbella are surprised by what Loyd just said. The system also notifies Loyd that Javier and Marbella are highly confused by this response. Loyd isn't refusing my requests? Neither are sure if they can believe him yet, but Suho, now accepting being Loyd, internalizes, "Could they not give me at least a little credit?" Walking back with Javier into the city to apologize to the pub owner, Suho realizes Loyd's image is far worse than he anticipated. Everywhere Loyd looks, townsfolk are scurrying left and right, dropping everything in their hands, hiding until the hooligan gets out of their town. Farmers behold and cower at Loyd's presence, hiding behind their horses and shops. Mothers rip their children off the windows so they don't make eye contact with Loyd. And the townsfolk would rather miss a few moments of work, carrying something heavy or deal with maintenance after Loyd leaves, making sure not to give confrontation nor eye contact with Loyd like the plague. Sister replies, "Wow, the villagers absolutely detest you." Suho internalizes, "Yeah, I got that too." As Loyd and Javier walk down the newly empty street barren of villagers, Loyd asks Javier, "By the way, Javier, why are you following me?" Javier tells Loyd that Lord Arcos, Loyd's father, ordered him to escort Loyd so that what happened yesterday doesn't recur. Loyd asks, "An escort for me?" "Oh, hardly. It's for the villagers. I'm protecting them from you." "Ah, so I'm like a gangster." Suho internalizes the first thing Loyd will need to do is get rid of this scumbag image so that after the Fronteras get into their debt, Loyd can at least get some food when he's a beggar. But then, he has the most profound thought. Wait, if I can sort out my family's debt before that happens, I could live peacefully as the heir to a country baron and live a sweet, comfortable life to a ripe old age. Then Suho internalizes, if this is another world story, do I have any skills? Immediately from reading Suho's thoughts, the system shows him 2 skills. The first one is Human Scum, a passive skill that causes others to furrow their eyebrows. And the second one is called Rowdy Drunkard. When this skill is activated, you become a complete jerk. Great, both skills are useless to Suho's dream, and they keep the scumbag image alive at the same time. Hooray! Javier watches Loyd swat away in the air like he was watching a butterfly in anger. Sees Loyd walking away from the pub. "Master Loyd, where are you going?" he asked. "The pub is over here. Were you lying when you said you would apologize?" Confused and angry, Loyd stops, looks, realizes that he just walked past the pub. Loyd replies to the confusion, "Huh? No, I was thinking about something." Javier looks at Loyd as they both go inside the pub and thinks, something has been off since last night. It's as if he is a completely different person. Loyd stands in front of the mess of chairs and tables broken and smashed from the previous Loyd's anger. Loyd gets on his knees and says, "Forgive me, pub master. Everything that happened last night was my fault." The sister replies next to a terrified man. The pub owner has assumed the position of extreme high alert. The pub owner replies timidly, "Master Loyd, please, I beg you, do not do this." So internalizes that maybe he needs to be a little ruder to be genuine. Loyd gets up, leans on the table, activates drunkard and says, "Well, I guess I'm sorry." The system replies, "Your apology doesn't seem genuine." The pub owner replies timidly, "It's fine. You don't have to apologize." After leaving the pub, Loyd says to Javier, "Even when I apologized, he didn't seem that happy." Javier replies, "Well, that's to be expected, since everything you destroyed today, his furniture, his decorations, they were all purchased with the pub owner's hard-earned money. He likely won't be satisfied until he is compensated." Suho internalizes, "But how can we compensate him when we have so much debt? Is it so hard to get brownie points with the villagers? It seems nothing will change if I don't repay the debt, but how?" Javier keeps talking. "Not only that, the pub owner's mother is sick after the late winter cold. Combine that with your misconduct, and you can imagine just how hard things must be for him." Loyd does remember being cold in his estate, and being cold at the pub. There were fireplaces in both locations, but it isn't enough to heat an entire building. The elderly can't handle that kind of cold for a very long time unless they have Ondo flooring. Loyd pauses for a moment, and his light bulb draws out a floor plan for an Ondo flooring. "That's it," Suho internalizes. "If I build them in this world, they would definitely sell. The hooligan Loyd Frontera would never dream of this stuff. But Loyd isn't Loyd anymore. Loyd is me, Suho Kim. In school, I majored in civil engineering. My time as a military engineer in the army, I constructed a house all by myself. And on top of that, I worked day and night at construction sites too. With my knowledge, I can settle all the Baron's debts." Loyd excitedly turns back and tells Javier, "Javier, let's go back to the pub." "And why is that, Master Loyd?" "To go get my first order." "Order? Oh no." To celebrate Suho's internal achievement, the system happily jump scares him again and says, "Your true journey has begun. Relationship, or RP system, has been activated. You can now earn RP by improving relationships with key characters." With this information, Suho internalizes that RP is similar to experience points in fantasy games. But it's not earned from killing monsters, it's earned by doing the hardest thing a scumbag can do. That is, making friends. Suho also realizes that when he thinks of something, the system either grants his command without Loyd ever speaking out loud, or makes fun of Suho just from hearing his thoughts. Just how omnipotent is the system? When Loyd examines Javier for more information, Loyd now sees a text box above Javier's head that says, "Javier's approval rating for Loyd is -30 to begin with." Suho tries to compliment Javier romantically, saying, "Hey Javier, I think you're very good looking." Immediately, Javier is disgusted by this and his RP turns to -31. This means that Loyd's story of a scumbag baker has now become a dating simulator in just 5 seconds. Loyd frowns in disappointment, doesn't worry about this, and just heads back to the pub. At the pub, Loyd writes out a contract for the pub owner to sign. Signing it will write off all construction fees against all of the property's damages, thus making Loyd's tab a clean slate. But in return, Loyd will build a new building that will be much warmer than the pub owner's fireplace for the pub owner's mother. The pub owner looks at Loyd suspiciously, and the system notifies Loyd. The pub owner used Stonewall Heart to hide its emotions, and determine if he's even getting a good deal out of this. Oh dear, what is this monster going to do if I sign this? What if Loyd just makes a campfire and throws her on it? Even worse, what if he just sets my head on fire and says, "Well, it's hotter than the fireplace with you inside of it, right?" What if I don't? Loyd reluctantly uses his drunkard skill immediately and says angrily, "Oh, come on! We're going to see each other a lot from now on. So let's trust each other." "Huh? Well," terrified, the pub owner scribbles his name in fear on the document. "I guess whatever happens, happens. I'm screwed either way. And this is for my mother, right?" Loyd takes the contract back and the system tells Suho, "Wow, you really are absolute garbage." Suho internalizes in anger. So what? What was I supposed to do? I got my first order." Loyd tries to comfort the scared pub owner by happily saying, "You made the right choice, sir. I won't let you down." Javier notices. Loyd actually put some respect on that last sentence. Loyd usually isn't this smart. He rarely calls anyone sir, and he never makes promises he keeps. Javier is realizing something is up since last night, but he can't put his finger on it just yet. After the two leave the pub, Javier asks Loyd, "Are you coming up with a new way to cause trouble for the townfolk?" Loyd explains to Javier the term of cognitive distortion, saying that people judge the actions of the past against the actions being taken in the present. For example, since Loyd is a troublemaker, Javier believes this contract is just a way to make trouble, then weasel out of the trouble without keeping your side of the deal. Almost like a one-sided NDA, or non-disclosure agreement. The pub owner signed it knowing full well the consequences, so he can't take it back. Javier replies, "But it's not prejudice. It's based on experience and statistics." Loyd is already untrustworthy, so what makes him think he can start earning trust now? Javier will see to it that Master Loyd doesn't go back on his word. Loyd asks, "But aren't experience and statistics not all in the past?" Javier adds another mental note. Was he always a smooth talker? We're actually talking about philosophy here. Loyd assures Javier, "I will make them smile. The pub owner and his mother. I will make them smile for sure." Loyd sinks the shovel's teeth into the ground and gouges out a layer of dirt, moves it, beginning the first of his many projects. As Loyd digs, he hides his smile while thinking, because those smiles will be the foundation of my money-making. In the next few panels, Loyd digs and packs the ground. Then the next scene, he steals some timber from the Frontera warehouse to make a timber frame. Next, he takes some clay from the river to complete the walls. Loyd passes out for a bit from all the exhaustion. Javier jokes, "Well, that didn't take long." "It took a week!" Loyd looks at the house and the plethora of work ahead of him that he hasn't even started yet. The roofing, flooring, nor the heating system are complete, and Javier's here cracking jokes? By now, Suho is used to doing this form of labor, but not in this lazybones body. He still has more work to do. Loyd woozily gets up to chop the firewood for the fuel, but his legs start to give out. He struggles to carry the axe as he's about to chop the firewood. He wobbles and falls right onto Javier's body into his hands. Javier lays him to the side and takes the axe from Loyd's tired hands and asks, "What do you need me to do?" Loyd realizes, wait, Javier is actually going to help? Then he tells Javier the exact measurements of wood he'll need for a fire. Each piece is about 2 hands length tall, 1 hand's length wide, and 1 finger thick. Javier tosses 3 small logs in the air and cuts them all with ease. With Javier's perfect precision of his swordsmanship, the logs are cut exactly to Loyd's measurements. Loyd looks at Javier's talented cuts in awe as his jaw drops to the floor. He gives Javier a thumbs up. Whoa, this is the talent of a future master swordsman? Who needs modern equipment when I got a Javier? Loyd's appreciation for Javier's work mixes with his crack-the-whip bedside manner, and Loyd's appreciation combines with his crack-the-whip attitude as he hands Javier a shovel and says, "When you're done, why don't you help me with the digging?" "Not even a thank you?" Javier realizes that showing off his talents just forced him into this project. Instead of thanking me, he gives me more work to do. Infuriated Javier regrets showing off his talents. In the words of the great stipendium, we work to earn the right to work, to earn the right to work. Loyd tries to convince Javier to work for him by dissecting that Javier must also be curious as to what he's doing. If Loyd is clearly out to con the pub owner, how will he do it? If Javier wants to see how Loyd does it faster, Javier should pitch in and help out. The work needs to be finished faster, right? Asks Loyd. And how do we do that? By doing that together. Javier, even knowing Loyd must have turned over a new leaf, still is unsure. However, what Loyd just said has piqued his interest. If Javier wants to see if Loyd has truly changed, then he will need to help him with the rest of the building. That includes the digging, the roofing, and the flooring. So together, the two complete the Ondo flooring project, and Loyd celebrates by putting a brand logo on the building. Loyd then asks Javier, "Javier, shall we go find out what sort of con I've cooked up for the pub owner now?" After calling for the pub owner and his mother walk inside the new structure. But they're hesitant. This was made by Loyd, right? Could this thing crumble down on them at any moment? It looks solid, but is it truly safe to walk in? Javier seems to notice their concern and walks in to assure them the structure is safe. Since he watched everything, he knows it's safe. Meanwhile, Loyd kindles a fireplace on the side of the structure connecting to the Ondo flooring. Within a few minutes, the heat of the floor starts warming up the pub owner and his mother. They can't believe how warm they are as the steam rises. The pub owner's mother begins to feel her cold ease up, and her stiff joints start relaxing like ever before. Loyd compares the pub owner's beliefs of the Ondo flooring to magic. All along, this is science made with materials, but the structure itself feels like someone just casted an enchantment on the structure. The pub owner gratefully thanks Loyd, saying, "Thank you so much, young master. It has been so long since I've seen my mother smile like this." Javier notices changes in Loyd as well, not just his speech and manners, but also his actions. The system notifies Loyd that Javier's approval rating recently increased by 2 points, making Javier's recent approval rating -29. Loyd knows that the cost of the timber put his profits in the negative, but there is another clause to the Ondo flooring contract as well for this very reason. After creating the Ondo flooring, he'll be able to use it for a few days to advertise and interest more villagers into buying and investing into a structure just like this. An audience of villagers line up in droves the next day to take a look at the Ondo flooring. Inside feels just like a sauna, but the villagers don't know what a sauna is yet. One villager walks out in a sweat and says, "Wow, I thought I was really going to melt." As villagers leave the structure, Loyd advertises to the melting customers about this amazing offer. Loyd can make this for any room in their house, or as a separate structure. If a customer orders both, it'll be 10% off the construction cost. What a deal! The product and craftsmanship is amazing. However, the spokesperson is still Loyd, the man that everyone fears. Loyd previously left these villagers with trauma, and they can't accept something that has been made by Loyd the thug. The villager takes a look at the salesperson, realizes it's Loyd, and tries to escape Loyd's greedy grasp. But now they've locked eyes. Is he going to kill me if I don't invest? It says, "Oh, come on. We'll keep seeing each other often, so let's trust each other." Huh? Well? The terrified villager just wants to leave the snake's grasp, but is too paralyzed to leave. "Don't you trust me? Are you really doing this to me? At this price, I'm practically giving it away. Loyd, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Papa Frontera has just entered the battle. Stay tuned, everyone.